Okay, third week on this project of my Stitchzilla, and we're at the point now where we're going to do a little bit of sculpting. So firstly, let's have a look at what we've done so far, and then we'll dive right in. So hopefully you've seen the previous videos, and if you haven't, then have a look up above, and you should be able to see links to the first two videos in this series. So we've covered quite a few things while we've been working on this little fella. So if you look at the tools down the side, ignore all of these at the bottom, because these are all ones that I've added in from other people who have made them, or ones I've made myself. But of these main tools, as a learner, if I hit the button like that, you can see them down the side here. And basically what we've got is a number of things that you should be familiar with now. So if I work down it, big one is move. You should really be comfortable moving the parts all around. You should have got a little bit of an idea of what paint's like, because I've given you a quick paint job, which we probably will get rid of. You should be good with things like crease, so just if you ever needed to put any little creases into the model. And then we used a lot trim and split, so they're kind of the main things that we've looked at so far. So there's plenty. We haven't even really stepped into the realms of sculpting yet. We've basically smashed together a load of primitives. We've done a little bit of work because of the spikes down his Godzilla back, but really we haven't done that much. So what we're going to do is we're going to combine a few parts together, and then we're going to do some sculpting and some retopology later on. So let's first of all let's put a few parts together. So if I pin it open and we look at the ears, and I say what we might want to do is not mash together things like the teeth, for example. So I'll just put them at the top for the moment, so both of them can go. In fact, the teeth can join together, so we'll join them together. And then as part of the head, we've got everything. We want everything there except for possibly we'll leave the eyes separate for now as well. So we'll drop them to the top, then they're out of the way. And then everything else, so that's the spikes, the head, the nose and the ears, we want to combine them together. So you can just join them, but we need to sculpt them into one. So obviously, if you remember from the previous video, you're going to need to do a voxel remesh. So we'll do it quite high, about 300 or 400, and then let it calculate. And what that's going to do is combine all of the meshes into one. And when they're combined into one, where we've got things like this rough edge, we can now do some sculpting on there. So the sculpting tool obviously is going to be clay, and the clay is the one we use the most. Make sure that symmetry's on. So you want to be working on both sides. And now what we'll do is we'll just start working like this. Now if it's when I hold smooth, if it doesn't smooth it back enough, you might need to go and remesh it, but lower. So I'm going to go, let's just try 320 this time. Remesh it again, give it a second, and now when I smooth, see how much easier it is? Because what we're going to do now is we're going to work our way through, and we're going to put some character into the Stitchzilla. So we're going to literally add some musculature, and we're going to clean up some of the areas as we go. Now, one thing to note, as I'm working here now, sometimes what's happening is it's damaging the back down the sides here, and sometimes if I was to work in here, sometimes it would damage the back there, which luckily it didn't do then. What you've got to do is just make sure up here in the settings under filter, just make sure that front facing vertex only is on. That means it will only work, it will work on the ones that you can see at the front, but it will protect the ones around the edges and the side. So I had it already on, as you could see there from my previous modelling. So I'm going to build up round here, around the ear. So we've got that looking nice and smooth all the way around, and build up the bottom down here, and build it up underneath as well. We want some nice cheeks, because we want him to be a bit smiley. The corner of the mouth is a mess, but I'll show you what we're going to do with that in a moment. Keep smoothing it down, and I want to add a little bit of definition down here to support the base of the ear at the back. Something along those lines there, and then smooth that down. So notice I'm always smoothing it down. While I'm round here, actually, what I will do is I'll put some surface detail around these spikes a little bit. Nothing too complex really, just enough to show that those spikes are sitting in something. Bear in mind we have painted them already, so you know we might have to redo that a little bit later on. So a little bit of detail there. One good thing you can do at this point is go back to the move tool, and you can look at where that chin is, and we can give ourselves a neck, because we never bothered giving ourselves a neck. So something like that is enough, and that will make a big difference once we start adding a bit more character. Now the next tool I want to show you is inflate, which is down here. And inflate is great for these corners of the mouth. So if you want to seal that mouth up rather than trying to sculpt it, if you just use inflate, just watch what happens. It just tightens. The bigger the brush is, the more it tightens. See how it's tightening there? And then you go back up to remesh, and if you like the remesh settings you've got, you can always use this button here. So whatever you've set there will be repeated down here. So if I hit voxel here now at any point, it remeshes it for me to save me going up to that panel at the top. So that's done a nice corner of the mouth now. So if I pull that back again with move tool now, you can see there it's given me a much nicer corner of the mouth. And that's what we're doing now, is we're just going around and improving this model all over. You can see me using the smooth tool a lot. So even that little corner makes such a big difference. Now with the move tool, let me show you this little tip. So with the move tool, you can pull it. So if I pull this one down, but then push underneath. So if you look under here, I'm pushing underneath, pulling, pushing, and then that basically allows me to fold this geometry over the top of this area here. Smooth it down if it's causing you any problems. As you know, we'll keep doing this a lot. Anywhere you're seeing a problem, but then pull this down and smooth it, and that's giving you that rabbit or you know, a more realistic kind of ear, because obviously there's something going on deep inside an ear hole. So you've got to get a way to get in there and get down in there. So you need it folded over a little bit. You could mask it off, which I showed you masking in the last few videos, but you don't need to for this. It's just a case of just pulling it to somewhere that works well. Okay, so if you're happy with that and you want to check the lips, just work your way along. We're still on clay, so we're just using clay for a lot of this video. Just give yourself a bit more of a defined lip and make sure it's nice and level all the way along. And then the last thing I'd want to do up here on the head would be, I'll just mess with that a little bit. So we've done a bit more on the base, and I'm going to switch back to the crease tool, and you know what that does, it gives you creases, and I'm just going to work in, oh, way too big, I'm going to work, nice small brush, I'm just going to work in a little bit of a crease around the edge of that coloured area there, and then smooth that down a little bit there, and then a couple of creases around the nose, you can see them over here. Make sure you smooth them down. Something like that. Just add a little bit of character to it. And we've got the neck now. So that's probably all we need. So that's the head in a good place. So the body, we're going to mash everything together here now. So I think what we might do is we might leave the nails separately, but everything else we will combine. So come up here. We've got it pinned open anyway, haven't we? So with the nails, we'll bring them out of the hierarchy. We'll put them up at the top out of the way. So that's both sides. And then, it's that one, wasn't it? I got the wrong one there. And then that leaves me with the legs and feet, the back plates, more back plates, the tube for the spikes, the arms, and the body. So it's just that head that we don't want, isn't it? Just put that out of the way. So we'll let them go then. Okay, so let's select everything that we want. So we know those three back plates are going to join together, so we'll just join them for now. We want the feet, they can join the back plate. The body we know, arms we do want, tail we do want, head we don't want, so we'll just move that up out of the way. We're losing the hierarchy now, but really don't worry about it. Teeth, as we know, we don't want those. So that means the body, the legs, the feet, that's the whole kit and caboodle. If you want to test it, just move that along. As you can see there, it's just left the claws, which is what we said we wanted. And then we merge that one. So back up, voxel remesh. We'll go up high again with this one and try that. Do a remesh. And this means that everything now body-wise is all pretty much mashed together. Okay, so I'm going to do something a little bit different now because we're going to remesh this guy. So I'm actually going to save him at this point. So we'll say new, video 3, version 4. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flood fill him with a paint because I don't care about the painting for the time being. So we'll just get all of them together and we'll just take him to white, no metalness. So I don't want any shininess or anything like that. Maybe a little bit of shininess and just do a paint all like that. Now what that means is I've now got a nice clean model that I can talk to you about, and we can start having a look at the geometry. So this is now disregarding the paint. So what we want to do now is there's still a little bit more sculpting that we could do. So for example, I could carry on just cleaning up this tail a little bit and adding a bit more detail as you come down the tail. There wasn't much in the way of detail there. And then again, just keep it smoothed down. So adding that bit of muscle around there is not going to be any major problem. Bit of muscle at the back of the feet. Again, smooth it down. Something like that. Back, and just that tiny bit makes all that difference, I find. A bit more going into that neck on both parts of the head and the neck. And later on we could texture this properly and maybe do a little bit more in-depth texturing on him later. But there you go, there's our model. It looks a bit more like a much better character because of the sculpting we've done. We've got rid of that painting now, so we can have a look at this in terms of geometry. So put the wireframe on and you can see you've got a really high res. So we need a low res version of all these parts if we want to move forward. So now there's a plugin called Quad Remesher here. I'm going to use it. It's about 15 or 20 pounds, I think, in the UK. So you don't need to use this. You can just stick with the sculpted model. But if you're going to take this out to other programs, this is a great little script to have. It's made by the same guy that did Z Remesher in ZBrush and the Quad Remesher for Blender. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to say up here, leave symmetry on. I'm going to leave the relax on and the face groups on. And I'm going to go where it says quads and a number. I'm going to say I just want, let me see, not 10,000. So let's say we'll try for 1,000 polygons or thereabouts. It doesn't need to be exact. And that is what I'll call that last button there. And it now calculates. So what it's going to do is it's going to have a go at making us a lower poly version of this model. It might mess it up a little bit, which it has actually there. And why has it messed it up? Because we've got some nasty seams and some nasty bits going on there. So let's undo that. And what we'll do is we'll turn off density. We'll turn off all of these settings for the time being. Leave symmetry on. And what we'll do is we'll make the target quads a little bit higher actually. And we'll also, so I'll go, instead of 1,000, maybe I'll try just 2,000. And I'll say adaptive size, knock that up a little bit higher. And that'll do it. And then we'll calculate that again and just watch how much better that is. Look at that, much, much, much cleaner. So if you've got a nice low polygon body mesh there now. Working with that perfectly well, so I'm actually really happy with that. So I'm going to do the same with all of the parts now. So I'm going to knock them down to just 500 for the feet, and I'm going to remesh that. Gives us nice clean little nails. I'm going to take the fingernails and do the same. That'll give us nice tight little nails. Now actually there's no reason for the next little test that we're going to do if we can't smash these together. So we'll do nail and nail and we'll just join them. absolutely no problem there. We've got very few pieces left now. So that says feet now, which means that needs to be renamed to body. And now the next one we didn't do was the head. So we need to knock that remesh back up to, I'm going to do 2000 again and see what happens. Could be a lot, it could be much better lower than that, but let's just see what happens. So same setting, so a lot of the complexity turned off, and there you go, it's done as a nice job there. Hasn't done any loops. We haven't tried to do any loops. That's much more of a complex thing, so I'll show you that in later videos. You can literally, like with ZBrush, you can actually tell it where you want certain geometry. So, but we don't really want to get that complex today. So that's that part done, and the last part, let's just get ourselves some nice low-res eyes. So these can only be 200, and we'll ask it to calculate there. So that's nice and low. And then the last one here is teeth. I'll try it at 200. It might be too low. No, that's done fine. Cool. So now we have a very, very low-res model to work with. And we can do all kinds of things with this. So one thing that I'll say first of all is, what you might want to do is this. So you might want to bring them all together and join them, but not voxel merge them. They're all one model now. You come up to the top here. You can go to, come over to miscellaneous on the geometry tab. And where it says UV unwrap, you can say UV unwrap, and that will give us a UV map that will allow us to texture on this at a later stage. So it's taking a minute to calculate. So when it's done that, you can see in the background there, it's given us a really cool UV map. It's not what we would want for a game engine. So it's not as clean as you would want as if you'd done it by hand with programs that are designed for that job. But what it has done is given us enough to be able to go to other programs with. So this could be a really good start for you if you want. So for example, you could just do this now. You could go export, and we'll choose OBJ. Could choose quite a few different formats here. We won't even change anything. We'll just export that. Go to import in Procreate. There's your Stitchzilla file. Bring him in. And straight away, we've got our little model. Even at that basic level, we've got our model in here now. So, and it's actually, because we didn't weld the parts, it's just in the parts that we had. So for example, we could paint the nails in one specific way. You can see that. And you basically just, I don't know whether you've ever done any of this before, but you're basically now just doing painting in 3D in Procreate. And you know, you can save that texture map, and you can you know, go and use that in game engines and all of the things that you may want have come to Nomad to do. Just by adding that little UV map makes it capable of being able to do that. So we won't go any further with that today, but that's where you can go. So if we're back in Nomad now and we've got a really nice clean model, we can now use this to go forward and paint any maps that we want inside Nomad, which is what we'll have a look at next week.